Sand?
Considering this is my first video, you have to like Undertale, because if this isn't recommended, you've played the game or at least watched someone play it. I remember the first time I played Undertale was on my mom's laptop. I didn't buy it like everyone else did at the time. I was 12 in 2015 when it first came out, and I pirated it off some very strange Russian website that my friend told me about. That thing definitely gave my mom's laptop an unknown number of viruses. And as most of you probably know, September 15th has just gone by, which marks the 10-year anniversary of Undertale. At the time, I was a kid, and at that, a fat autistic one. And when you're a fat autistic kid with unfiltered access to the internet, you can get sucked into a lot of colorful fandoms. Like, at the time, I was big into mainstream stuff like Halo, Call of Duty, Portal, but I was also into stuff like Five Nights at Freddy's, Homestuck, Sonic, and later, Undertale. And to be honest, the main thing that sucked me into the fandom, before I even knew Undertale was a game to begin with, was this little guy. Sans Undertale. Or maybe Sans Deltarune, but we don't have to go into that just now. But anyway, I was seeing pictures of this guy everywhere. Some of them pretty normal, some of them, let's just say they weren't that normal. Beyond that, I don't think it's crazy to say that Sans was, and still is, the poster boy for Undertale. While even writing this introduction to the video, I saw Sans at my local Five Guys, and at the gym. I think it goes without saying that I wasn't the only person that was drawn to Sans from the get-go. People made AUs, which are alternate universes for the ill-informed. They made comic dubs, flip-note compilations, the whole 9 mile. Parts of the fandom also made very interesting things with Sans, but that's not entirely what we're going to talk about today. What I plan to talk about is more in regards to how Sans affected the community as a whole, and in regards to how Sans affected the world at large. With that being said, I feel like there's no better place to start than with the household name of Matthew Patrick, in a section I like to call the MatPat branch. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain who MatPat is, but for the ill-informed, I'll give you a brief overview. Matthew Patrick is the creator of the popular YouTube channel, Game Theorist. Or was it Game Theory? I swear in the past it might have been called Game Theory. Is that a new Mandela effect? On this channel he would, well, theorize about games. And within the past year or so, he retired to do bigger and better things like travel, raise his kid, and join Congress or something. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but MatPat is broken into politics, and honestly, I'm all for it. If in 2028 I see a presidential race between MatPat and Mr. Beast, I know where my vote's going. Anyway, why is MatPat important to Sans and his internet legacy? This is pretty obvious for those who have been on the internet for a while, but on February 9th, 2016, MatPat would release a video that would change everything. Sans' Ness. The whole theory revolves around the idea that Sans from Undertale is also the character Ness from Earthbound. Now, there was some good evidence for this theory revolving around the Franklin badge possibly being in Sans' possession, and references to the phase distorter in Sans' garage. Beyond that, though, MatPat has stated numerous times that he doesn't actually think Sans is Ness, but rather just a good idea or a fun theory to think about. But people at the time were livid with this theory. Absolutely up in arms for no good reason. I think we can safely say that all of this evidence was actually just more of an homage, seeing as Toby Fox was a huge fan of Earthbound and the series' mother at the time. What I've just told you is pretty surface level stuff, but what we really want to get into is how this spiraled and created so many different branching pathways for Sans to go and infect and spread across the internet. As previously stated, I said that the reaction to the video was pretty obtuse, but it led to one of my personal favorite pieces of Sans-related paraphernalia, Steven After Not Surviving. Steven After Not Surviving began as a parody of the MatPat video Sans' Ness, but it is also a parody of many creepypasta videos. What many don't know, who have seen the video, is that it began as a picture posted in one of the most evil places on the internet, DeviantArt. This image first popped up in hell on May 10th, 2016 by user LuluVZ. And a little over a week later, on the 20th, they would upload a video that went detail on their fake creepypasta. The story details how Steven Universe gets cancer and dies and eventually becomes Sans. The story is so absurd and ironically edgy that it's just fun. All of Steven's guardians, the Crystal Gems, end up offing themselves in response to his death. I'm now just going to play a few short segments from the video that I find absolutely fantastic.
Connie, as well as the Crystal Gems, knew something bad was happening to Steven. They knew then what he had. It was none other than cancer. Finally, that bitter morning, Steven passed away.
That's all I feel like sharing of that video, because I want you guys to go in the description and check out the video for yourselves. Also, on a side note, I've seen all of Steven Universe, and let me tell you, it's not great, but it's definitely not as bad as what people make it out when someone's screaming in your ear the whole time. That's terrible. Definitely is not good, but let me tell you, it's nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be. Rebecca Sugar, on the other hand, don't ask what happened when she draws that at Nettie, okay? Okay, now, getting back to business, it's clear to see how MatPat's influence over Sans and Undertale has swayed Sans' influence in a direction that was incomprehensible to even Toby Fox. Now, MatPat didn't just go around influencing how people on the internet saw Sans. He also started to influence franchises. Now, this is a bit of a smaller notion in the overall Sans arc, but I feel like this is a pretty good honorable mention before we get into what I think is the most interesting of the bunch that I want to talk about today. I know you've heard of Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm sure you know by now that there's been a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Yes, that one. And I'm sure if you've seen the movie, you'll know that MatPat cameos in it as he should. And once we're greeted with this familiar face, I see him and I can't help but notice, what is that?
Some people say that, but you know, it's just a theory.
Yep, that's right. His name is Ness. According to MatPat himself, Scott Cawthon was the reason for this.
The movie is actually full of these sorts of Easter eggs. For instance, my character's official name, right here, it's Ness. I don't know if you'd noticed this one in the movie, but it's Ness. And I was told by everyone that Scott specifically called out that he needed me to be named Ness. At first, I immediately thought, like, oh, this gotta be a reference to Ness from FNAF AR, or maybe this is another instance of Vanessa from Security Breach. You know, just Scott trolling people by using the same name over and over again. But no, when I met him later in the day, he told me it was a reference to Sans' Ness. He was very proud of himself.
Yeah, that's right. Undertale, and more importantly, MatPat's video on how Sans could have been Ness has a very strange connection to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and that's just one of the stems from the MatPat branch. Now we're approaching what I think is the most interesting thing to come out of MatPat's Sans is Ness video. This one's gonna need a bit more of an explanation, because it doesn't tie directly into Sans is Ness or MatPat, but something later down the line encased within this world. By now, I'm assuming that you all know of a game named Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And that within this game, Sans appears as a Mii Fighter costume. Well, I myself have a theory on how Sans might have ended up in Smash. Well, the thing is, we do know how he ended up in Smash, and that's what I'm about to tell you. However, I believe this was already in the back of Sakurai's mind when he saw Sans' Ness. Undertale, as you may or may not know, is actually very popular in Japan, and as a result, Toby Fox was invited to meet Masahiro Sakurai at his home while on a trip to Japan. He was actually already in Japan to meet the creator of Earthbound, which for Toby Fox, I assume, was a highlight of his life. Once Toby Fox arrived at Sakurai's house, they discussed video games and reportedly started playing Smash. Reportedly, Sakurai was surprised at how well Toby played, and apparently they were evenly matched. It is suggested that from this interaction, Toby was offered to have a character from his game included in Smash Bros. Ultimate, and given the opportunity to compose new music and a variation of the theme of Melvania for the game. For whatever reason, whether it be internet fame and popular culture, Toby chose Sans to be in Smash Bros. Now, he wouldn't be a full-fledged character, but rather a Mii Fighter, but maybe down the line someday we'll get an Undertale character or Deltarune character in Smash. But now for the real kicker. In 2020, for Undertale's 5-year anniversary, Sakurai decided to tweet this image. This is both Sans and Ness together on It from Earthbound. This is unmistakably a reference to the original theory from Game Theory. The sheer fact that Sakurai knows about the theory and referenced it is amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. And it really goes to show the sheer expanse that the single theory has upheld, and it's honestly insane. From online shitposts to real franchise alterations and involvement. Who would have guessed that MatPat's theory would influence this much? Now, that marks the end of what I called the MatPat branch. Now, the rest of this video is going to be rather short, and it's just going to be me kind of rambling about some of my favorite things that Sans has influenced, or just things Sans related that have popped up. For instance, Sans popping up on the 700 Club.
Peyton says, recently I was looking through my daughter's phone and I found many pictures of a cartoon skeleton with one glowing blue eye and wearing a hoodie. When I asked my daughter why she had such demonic images on her phone, she told me there was nothing wrong with it because it was from a video game. How do I help my daughter not be attracted to such demonic things?
We'll give her something better.
Not to mention Sans befriending Toriel. It's amazing how the fandom just absolutely turned on a dime on Sans like that. Of course, the songs.
It's a beautiful day outside.
Welcome to the underground. How was the fall? Story of Undertale.
And I couldn't find the video, but I know there's a video of some kid in like 2016, maybe 2015, maybe late 2015. He's got a blue jacket on, he's walking in the cold, he's like, when I got this jacket on, I feel like I'm Sans. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of the video. I could extend the video longer and talk about like AUs, like alternate versions of Sans and stuff like that, but I feel like that's getting away from the point. It's kind of the point. It's mostly, this is my first video, and I know the quality isn't great, so what I'm here asking right now is for if anyone watches this, just any tips, constructive criticism, non-constructive criticism, pretty much just, I'm asking for anything. Like mic suggestions, because I am recording on a Turtle Beach headphone mic, not even headphones, earbud mic. It's horrible, horrible. But yeah, I mean, if you watched all the way to the end, thanks, appreciate it. This is a shared channel, by the way. This won't just be me uploading, it'll also be two of my other friends, if we get around to it. This is more of like a side project, so I won't expect active uploads unless this takes off. But beyond that, thanks for watching, and see you around.